Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. We'll just give it another minute before kicking off, let everyone join. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna start this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to some of you. Welcome to the launch of the 2024 Landscape of Microinsurance. My name is Matthew Genetzini. I'm the director of the Microinsurance Network, and I'm going to be moderating or kind of overseeing this webinar today. We only have an hour, so we're going to kind of kick it off and really kind of get started rather quickly. So just to introduce, the Landscape of Microinsurance is one of the flagship products of the Microinsurance Network and is really the only kind of global stock take of the sector, collecting granular data from the field, analysing it, and then packaging it into this publication. This is the culmination of about over a year's work, actually, in which the year's been rocked by climate crises and multiple other climate and disaster shocks. The launch for us is not the end of our work, but it's more the beginning. As we see, we hope to be able to use the study and the data, well, not only us, but you use the study and the data to help improve inclusive insurance throughout the world by providing insights, identifying trends, highlighting innovations, and really kind of making calls for actions to the various stakeholders. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping. I know we've been through this quite a few years since COVID, but just to highlight a few things. The first one is there will be simultaneous interpretation. So if you do want to listen in Spanish or French, there is a button down the bottom where you can click and then choose the language that you want. We will have a presentation in Spanish, so if you don't understand Spanish but are listening to me, maybe click on the interpretation and choose the English section so that when they do speak Spanish, you will hear the interpretation. For the sake of time, it would be great if you have any questions to put them in the Q&A section. We'll try and answer them throughout the presentation, but there is a Q&A session towards the end as well. This session will be recorded, and we will circulate the slides afterwards as well. And if you do have any issues, don't hesitate to message them in executive team on the chat, and they will be able to resolve any of the issues. So let's get to the agenda. So the agenda, we'll kick off with some welcome words from Saurabh Shaham from UNDP, the insurance specialist at UNDP, before really kind of getting into the details, where we've got our very own Sarah and Karimi, who will be presenting the majority of this webinar and the results of the landscape. This will be followed by Q&A, and then we've got a few announcements. Really kind of talking about what's going to happen next with this program, and then a special announcement as well before the webinar is closed by our very own Lorenzo Chan from Pioneer and Chair of the Microinsurance Network. But before that, I just want to have a special thanks to our landscape sponsors and partners, who without which this really wouldn't have been possible. And we've got the two ministries from the Luxembourg government, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We've got the UNDP, we've got AXA Essentials, Munich Re Foundation, Swiss Re Foundation, Aon, the Insurance Federation of Egypt, and Barents Re. So they have been integral in terms of helping us achieve this. And obviously the Landscape BPG, you guys all know who you are. Thank you very much. They've been integral in terms of providing us feedback and enriching the content, the landscape. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Saurabh, who's going to take us through some welcome remarks. Over to you, Saurabh.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you for inviting me. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here today representing UNDP and our work in insurance and risk finance. We all know the world today is filled with uncertainties. And at UNDP, we see microinsurance as a critical tool for managing these uncertainties, helping vulnerable communities build resilience against climate risks, health crises, and economic shocks. But to strengthen this tool, we must first understand the global microinsurance landscape. Where is it working? Where the gaps still remain, and how we can innovate to expand microinsurance coverage. And that is why UNDP has been supporting the landscape study for the past 3 years. This report, in fact, holds a personal significance for me. Back in 2013, I worked as a researcher on this very study, and having seen firsthand the effort that goes into compiling this report. So I want to take a moment to thank Alice, the author, and everyone involved in reviewing and preparing this year's edition. Uh, of course, at UNDP, we see this as more than just a report. It is a strategic tool for decision makers. And in particular, we hope that three key groups will adopt the insights from this study. And the first group is policymakers and regulators. The report highlights that regulation can be a driver of growth and not a constraint. Uh, Often regulations are blamed for a barrier to innovation. But we have seen that countries with dedicated microinsurance regulations, such as India, the Philippines, and Kenya, they have demonstrated significant progress in expanding access and scaling impact, showing that regulation can, in fact, be a driver. The second key group or the second key audience for us are the insurers and financial service providers. The study reinforces that microinsurance has a very strong business case. But unlocking its potential requires moving beyond traditional models and embracing innovation. Again, I speak from experience. Before joining UNDP, I was a practitioner and I was leading the microinsurance business at Britam in East Africa, where I saw firsthand the growth in both revenue and profitability that microinsurance can deliver. Uh, our final group is development organizations and governments. As you will see, the findings in this report reaffirm that insurance is a critical pillar of financial resilience, particularly in today's very unpredictable world. I don't think I need to say a lot about that. Yet, a large protection gap still remains. Bridging this gap requires a systems approach, and that is where development organizations and governments have a big role to play. Because bridging this gap requires a systems approach where insurance is embedded into national resilience strategies and social protection programs. To sum up, this report is not an academic exercise. As Matthew also put it, it's really a call to action. The data speaks loudly and clearly. Microinsurance works. It is scalable, it is viable, and it is essential for inclusive economic growth. But its full potential can only be realized that if decision makers in all the three groups that I just mentioned act on the evidence that will be presented in this report. So I encourage all of you to use this report as a roadmap to inform policy, to design regulations, to scale solutions, and only working together can we close the protection gap. But I know you didn't come here to listen to me. You are here for the insights, all the very interesting insights from the report. So I think with that, I'm going to pause and let me hand it back to Matthew for our next speakers.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think the call to action is something that we really kind of want to insinuate here quite strongly, and I think focusing on those three groups is really key to ensuring that microinsurance does develop in the way that we want it to. So thank you, Saurabh. Maybe if we move to the next slide, I think just before we get into the crux of the matter, let me just talk a little bit about the sample of data that we've used. So in 2024, we managed to collect data from just under 300 insurance providers who are offering 985 microinsurance products across 37 countries. We did this through working with 20 insurance supervisors and associations, around just under 30 kind of data collectors or collaborators in the field, and really kind of amassed a lot of the data. You can see that since 2020, there's been a significant growth in the amount of data that we have collected, with it plateauing a little bit in the last 2 years. And you know, this wealth of data is something that I think we're very proud of. And we pride ourselves in ensuring that, you know, the data that we do use is clean, reliable, and meaningful. So that's enough from me. I'm going to hand you over to Sarah and Karimi, who's going to take you through some of the insights and calls for action. And they're going to be using a unique approach whereby we'll try and be demystifying some of the myths that exist within the sector. And these are some of the myths that Saurabh mentioned before. So over to you, Karimi and Sarah.
Thank you very much, Matt. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I am Sarah Orozco, the Regional Coordinator for Latin America and the Caribbean, and the coordinator of the Landscape program at the Microinsurance Network. With me is my colleague Karimi Tiga, the Regional Coordinator for Africa of the network. And it's really great to have you all here for the launch of the 2024 Landscape of Microinsurance, our flagship project. We want to start by talking about a perception we often hear in the industry, that microinsurance is not scalable, that it doesn't generate profits, or that it simply doesn't work. These ideas are often based on outdated information or stories from others instead of real experience. This is exactly why the landscape of microinsurance is so important, to challenge these myths with real data and clear analysis. Our goal is to give everyone, from insurers to governments to development agencies, the information they need to make smart decisions based on facts, not assumptions. By showing what microinsurance can really do, we help grow this market and make sure more people, especially those in vulnerable situations, have access to the protection they need to face risk and recover faster. With this in mind, we want to present the key findings of the study by tackling 6 of the most common myths about microinsurance. Now I will hand it over to Karimi, who will guide us through the first myth.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for laying the foundation for our presentation today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's indeed a pleasure to have you join us today as we present the results of the Landscape of Microinsurance Study 2024. So I will just get right into the details and the data. One of the most common beliefs about microinsurance is that it's too small scale to be profitable. But the reality is quite different. Microinsurance is not just a social good. It's a long-term business investment with potential for real growth. And we are going to see how that is through the data from the landscape. Next slide, please. In 2023 alone, just from the data in 2023 alone, 344 million people were covered by microinsurance across 37 countries. That represents 11.5% of the low and middle income population in these regions. The industry generated about 6.2 billion in premiums, which represented 16% of the total estimated market value. Even more impressive, between 2021 and 2023, premiums have grown by over 50%. However, despite the progress these numbers show, there is still enormous potential to be achieved. More than 2.6 billion people still remain uninsured. This gross market potential is not only at a global scale, but can also be seen across the 3 regions where we collect data. In Asia and the Pacific markets, 87.3% of the target population still remain uninsured, while in the LATAC region and Africa, an estimated 90.8% and 91.8% of the target population, respectively, remain uninsured. This showcases the reality that the market is far from saturation and an enormous opportunity exists at a country, regional, and global level to scale the microinsurance business. However, to realize this scale, it is important that insurance companies understand the reality of the business, that microinsurance is indeed a long-term investment with strong growth for potential. Hence, the clarion call from the network to the industry and the sector is to embrace microinsurance as a long-term investment and strategic opportunity, committing resources beyond short-term pilots and focusing on sustainable growth. Next slide, please. So how long are we talking about? The Landscape of Microinsurance 2024 data reveals that microinsurance products typically take about 3 to 4 years to reach considerable growth and even longer to reach profitability. But when they do, they generate higher customer retention and premium growth, as has been mentioned before. For insurance, therefore, it's paramount that you invest and you have the willingness to invest in long-term sustainable models that will result in growth. If you do that, then the growth is inevitable. One of the ways to do that is diversifying products. Diversify your product offerings to create opportunities for providers to further expand microinsurance portfolios to cover a wide range of customer risks. Microinsurance represents one of the greatest untapped opportunities in the insurance industry today, offering a tremendous market opportunity for those willing to embrace innovation, scale sustainable models, and respond to the real needs of millions of the underserved population. Just to reiterate that microinsurance is indeed a profitable long-term investment that the industry can take advantage of to close the protection gap. Next slide, please. The second myth that we want to look at and demystify with the data is that insurance companies or the insurance sector does not have enough data or experience to expand products successfully. However, in reality, we see that the industry has been growing and there's already a wealth of knowledge that is available for the industry to leverage on. Next slide. The Landscape of Microinsurance study documents the evolution of the sector across different countries, providing foundational markets insights for anyone looking to get into the sector. There are nearly 1,000 documented microinsurance products, many of which have been in the market for years. These products have generated valuable insights into customer behavior, claims processes, and profitability. This wealth of knowledge gives insurance companies a strong foundation to build upon. Expanding microinsurance doesn't mean starting from scratch. It simply means using existing knowledge to innovate with lower risk. For example, from the data, we have realized that while life insurance currently dominates microinsurance portfolios, the demand for property, income protection, and climate risk products is rapidly growing. In addition to that, health-related risks are extremely relevant to low-income populations, yet in some cases, health coverage is often only provided as an add-on to other products rather than as a standalone tailored product to customer needs. Understanding this market dynamics and leveraging on the Landscape report and other reports that have been published, hence shows that the challenge is not a lack of information, but rather how we can leverage the existing wealth of knowledge within the industry to innovate and refine our products with lower risk. However, even with the data that is available, one challenge still remains. Next slide, please. And that is the challenge around data segmentation, especially in the context of gender disaggregated data. As mentioned, there's more that needs to be done in the area of building data-driven approaches to designing products, particularly availing gender disaggregated data. From the study, only 50% of microinsurance products reported gender-specific insights. This is a major gap because understanding how different groups access and use insurance can help us to design better and more inclusive products. In addition, for those who submitted data, we see that 48% of policymakers, 48% women, 48% of the women represent policymakers, and 49% represent the lives covered. Some insurance products are already tailored to women's unique needs, but there's still much more that we can do to improve accessibility and affordability. Therefore, our call to action is to improve how we are tracking and analyzing microinsurance product performance data so that we can refine products, expand our market reach, and ensure that insurance solutions are truly meeting the needs of those who need them the most, women included, and other vulnerable populations in our community. Next slide, please. The third myth that I will look at is the myth around misconception that microinsurance operates separately from financial inclusion. In reality, microinsurance plays a key role in financial inclusion, particularly when it's paired with digital payments and other financial instruments such as credit. Our data reveals that cash and direct debit are the most common payment methods used for microinsurance products. Geographical nuances that are linked to the financial inclusion ecosystem can also be observed from the data. For example, in Asia, 51% of microinsurance transactions are conducted in cash, while in the LAC region and Africa, majority of the microinsurance transactions are conducted using direct debit, representing 37% and 39% of the transactions respectively. Digital solutions are also gaining ground, especially mobile money, which is becoming increasingly popular in Africa. In fact, 15% of all microinsurance transactions in Africa now use mobile money, and this number is only growing steadily. This shift in the financial landscape also makes it easier for insurance companies to be able to distribute products at a more affordable cost to its customer. Many low-income individuals do not have access to traditional banking services, but they do have access to other financial institutions such as MFIs and SACCOs, and you can see how this are being used as a preferred mode of payment from the data. Hence, our clarion call is for insurance companies to leverage the existing financial inclusion frameworks, adopting digital payment solutions to collect premiums and pay claims faster and conveniently. Secondly, including microinsurance as a central part of national financial inclusion agendas and policies, promoting it as a key tool to promote financial health. Doing so will help unlock new markets and drive financial inclusion. To conclude this first part of the three misconceptions, is that at the end of it all, from the data, we can conclude that microinsurance is indeed a viable business opportunity, and there's a wealth of knowledge in the industry and experience from industry practitioners that we can all rely on to adopt microinsurance as a powerful tool for financial inclusion. I will now hand it over to Sarah to take us through the next part of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karimi. Now, I would like to invite Regina Silva, manager of Serinsa. Serinsa is a social enterprise that promotes the commercialization of microinsurance through technical assistance to the microfinance sector in Central America. This with the objective of strengthening the resilience of low-income population. In fact, Regina is one of the cases highlighted in the 2024 report. And today, Serinsa will share its first-hand experience with us. But before we want to remind you that Serinsa presentation will be in Spanish, and simultaneous interpretation into English to Spanish and English to French are available for those who need it. So Regina, the floor is you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días a todos.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Sarah, for the opportunity, for including me as part of the microinsurance landscape study. We are a company based in Central America, Our core business is increasing resilience of low-income populations through alliances that we have organized ever since 2016. We were included in an IDB project, but since 2016, we have dedicated to the development of inclusive microinsurance in the region. We have a strategic alliance with the Central American and Caribbean Network and with MIN very recently, 2 years ago. These alliances have allowed us to develop and somehow understand that microinsurance are not only a tool for financial inclusion, but also to generate profitability within the finance institutions or the financial providers who are our distribution channels. We started in 2014 through a project, but in 2016, we became a company. We are an articulation company, and somehow we show insurers what the market through microfinance need to reach out to the population that most needs it. We're currently working in Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. We have 16 companies that are distributing products in the people's lines and damages as well in Guatemala. I can tell you that our main contribution to this experience and this knowledge has been strengthening the institution, the financial institutions, to strengthen microinsurance and the interest that microinsurance can generate, both for risk management as an organization and also through what can be generated through this type of products, mainly the resilience that you will be generating in your target audiences, in their clients. In 2023, we had 112,000 policies to 86,000 clients in millions of dollars. We have also had about $600,000 of claim payments to low-income populations. We have also included new products based on the knowledge that has been generated by these alliances and also that results from the MIN program. I can tell you that we, as an institution that is contributing to this ecosystem, have developed a coaching process for microinsurance companies, providing them with know-how regarding all the processes and also microinsurance finances. We have also provided them with a platform that has contributed to improving access and developing more opportunities within this ecosystem. As Teresa, our main objective is developing products, as I said, products that can be used, that are accessible, and that can also provide more tangibility to the products that we're seeing. It is important to understand what is the position of Central America within the microinsurance ecosystem and understanding that we are about 5 steps behind of the rest of the world. And that has allowed us to also include visualization actions as a company and also the collaboration through many programs that have allowed us to establish these strategic alliances to develop these opportunities with less resources and in a more efficient way. I think I already took the 5 minutes I was given. I hope you really find this interesting. And from Central America, I want to tell you that I hope you find this information useful and that we can leverage all the lessons learned within this ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Regina, for sharing your experience. We hope this case will inspire more players in the industry to explore the development of tailored microinsurance products that truly meet the needs of vulnerable population. I would like also to take this opportunity to invite all of you to explore the case study included in the report, where you can dive deeper into this valuable experience and key lessons learned. And now I want to go to the next slide and move on to our next myth. So another common mistake is to believe that reaching the target population of microinsurance is too difficult. However, experience and the landscape study have shown that this challenge can be successfully addressed. If we look at the global picture, we see that agents and brokers are by far the most used channels. They represent 62% of the distributions worldwide. After that, we have financial institutions with 20%. This means we still depend a lot on traditional channels, but if we look at the different regions, the story changed a bit. In Africa, for example, apart from agents and brokers, microfinance institutions play an important role with 27% of distribution. Additionally, digital channels are gaining importance, particularly through mobile network operators, which are helping insurers reach a scale by tapping into extensive customer bases and existing payments ecosystems. In Asia, for example, the dependence on agents and brokers is even bigger, reaching 70%. However, we also see innovative partnerships emerging, where NGOs and digital wallets are playing a growing role in extending microinsurance coverage, which are expanding access to insurance for underserved population, especially in rural and informal markets. In the case of Latin America and the Caribbean, we see the most balanced situation. This variety of channels reflect a stronger effort to combine traditional and innovative strategies to enhance outreach. So what does all this tell us? That depending on a single channel is maybe a mistake. When insurers rely only on one distribution channel, they risk excluding many people, especially those in rural areas, working in informal jobs or lacking access to traditional banking services. On the other hand, regions that leverage multiple channels at the same time achieve greater scale and more inclusive coverage, effectively helping to close the protection gap. This is also about more than just adding new channels for the sake of variety. Each channel brings specific benefits that, when combined, create stronger, more efficient delivery models. For example, brokers can help reach a scale quickly thanks to their market presence and networks. Microfinance institutions are particularly effective at reaching low-income clients they already know and trust, and they tend to have higher claims reporting rates and shorter notification periods to their proximity and close relationship with clients. Digital wallet, for example, offers speed and convenience, especially for premiums payment and claims disbursements. And NGOs plays a key role in building trust within vulnerable communities, making insurance more accessible to population that may otherwise mistrust financial products. So the message here is clear. So expanding reach is not about funding a single channel, but about creating strategic alliances across multiple channels. Combining channels ensures broader and more inclusive coverage, and omnichannel strategies improve access to insurance, drive inclusion, increase resilience, and improve transparency. We can go to the next slide, please. So another common mistake or myth in the industry is to believe that regulation is always a barrier for microinsurance development. However, experience and the landscape study have shown that with the right dialogue and tailored regulatory frameworks, regulation can actually, it's a key enabler for innovation and inclusion. So today, 60 countries are developing a specific regulation for microinsurance, and already 40 jurisdictions have some form of regulatory framework in place. This shows that more and more regulators are recognizing the importance of microinsurance and are adapting the regulation to facilitate its growth. And they are not doing it alone. What is the most interesting is that this process has been highly participatory, with direct dialogue between supervisors, insurers, cooperatives, and even international organizations. In other words, regulation is not a barrier, but a space for a collective construction that responds to the realities of each market. And in addition, regulators are actively promoting innovation. We see a growing momentum toward the use of technology, the development of regulatory sandboxes, and the exploration of open insurance. This initiative opened doors to more accessible products, more efficient distribution models, and more inclusive processes. So far from being an obstacle, regulation is evolving as a key enabler for microinsurance. As such, the Landscape report calls for the integration of microinsurance into broader financial health strategies and the further strengthening of public-private partnership. With the right collaborative and innovative regulatory environment, microinsurance can scale its impact, strengthening the economic resilience of individuals and businesses, helping people recover faster from financial shocks, and contributing directly to poverty reduction and long-term stability. So yes, regulation is not a problem, it's an essential part of the solution. Next slide, please. Now, to finish with the myths, we fall into the error of thinking that some risks are just uninsurable or unaffordable. Next slide, please. Thank you. So according to the Landscape, 2 out of 10 microinsurance products are subsidiaries, demonstrating that there are active mechanisms in place to facilitate access and affordability, especially in critical sectors such as agriculture, where climate risks are high and government support is key. In this sector, we have seen the development of index insurance macro program designed together with government, an increase in investment from donors and development agencies, which recognize that insurance is a fundamental piece of the climate adaptation and financial protection strategy. In addition, the 1 in 10 products distributed through NGOs shows how working in coordination with development actors, broader outreach, reaching vulnerable populations that don't have access to traditional channels. And another key fact here, donors and development agencies are not only interested, they are prioritizing climate risk management and financial inclusion. We know that in smaller and more vulnerable countries, the long-term support of this organization has been decisive and strengthening microinsurance market. So the conclusion is clear here. Risks are not inherently uninsociable. What is missing in the right environment, combining smart subsidies, strategies, investment, and public-private partnership. That is why from the Landscape, we make a direct appeal to government, donors, and development agencies. It is time to scale up these smart subsidies and foster partnerships that integrate insurance into broader financial strategies for risk management. This is how we reduce insurance risk, expand access, and above all, strengthen the resilience of the most vulnerable communities. Because the reality is that with innovation, strategy support, and a collaborative approach, is not risk, is truly uninsociable. So, and with this, I will wrap up. Thank you very much, Matt. I will hand it back to you for the Q&A session.
Thank you, Sarah. And I just have to congratulate you because we said we were going to finish your presentation at 2:39, and it is exactly 2:39. So well done on that. So now we've got like 5 minutes for some Q&As. We've got some questions that have been posted. If you do have other questions, don't hesitate to post them in the Q&A section. Maybe I'll go to the first question from sorry, I missed the name, from Ajmal, about micro takaful. And really kind of he sets out a number of questions asking about the extent of takaful penetration, members covered under takaful and so forth. So for this, I'm gonna ask my colleague Nicolas, who is the regional manager in Latin America, and he's the one that's really kind of gone deep into the data. So he has a lot of these answers. Nico, are you there?
Hi, Matt. Thank you. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. So what were you referring to?
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking about the question about takaful, micro takaful. So to what extent is there penetration globally? How many are covered? Maybe talk about how, like, what we found in the study a little bit about the takaful.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Matt. So in our study this year, we didn't incorporate that much information about takaful. This doesn't mean that we are not collecting that information. We hope that in our upcoming reports, we will have the opportunity to have more data regarding this type of products. Just to mention that a couple of years ago, we actually produced a report for this particular study. So I highly recommend to go to our website and download that specific report. However, I would like to share with you that nearly of the 1,000 reported products in the Landscape of Microinsurance study, 27 indicated that they were based on a takaful model. The oldest product that was reported for these products was of in 2003. These 27 products concentrates or covers around a total of 250,000 people in countries such as Egypt, Bangladesh, Ghana, Nigeria, Pakistan, and India. The most common risk cover that we find in these products is death and disability. And according to our data, the most commonly used distribution channel for these products are agents and brokers that are used as the primary channel. And we can find as well that they're using all different distribution channels, such as financial institutions and microfinance institutions as well.
Thank you, Nicolas. We've got another question from Angela asking about, did the landscape collect data from bundled products, microinsurance bundled with other financial products, including micro pensions or micro credit?
You want me to take that question as well?
Yeah, go on. Thing is, you got the floor.
Okay. Yeah. So according to our study, around 12% of the reported products indicate that they are bundled with other type of insurance coverage, and as well, there are another 12% of products that reported that are not that has been bundled with not insurance products. So maybe just to share with you that there are some slight difference across the different regions. In Latin America and the Caribbean, we have found, for example, that property microinsurance products are bundled with hospital cash coverage. Cooperatives plays a very significant role in distributing this type of products and reaching around 0.3 million people in just in this particular region. We have also noted, according to the data that we have been collecting, that life and accident insurance products achieve high scale, partially because many of them are linked to loans, credit life insurance, and usually we can find this type of model or the industry realizing this in this model, especially because there are some mandatory policies to access these financial products.
Thanks, Nicolas. Can I ask my colleague Eiste to share the link to the report in the chat if it hasn't already been done? There's a few questions about where they can download the report. I think the report is now live on our website, and you can download it there. Do we have any time for more questions? I'm just maybe one more. I mean, there's quite a few coming in. They're all coming in now. It's going to be quite difficult to answer them. But what we will try and do is answer the questions when we send out the presentation and the link to this webinar. Maybe one last question: what is the proportion of index insurance for smallholder farmers in the study? Can you answer that one? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but.
Yeah. So according to our data, 52% of the reported agricultural microinsurance products are index-based insurance.
Okay. Thanks, Nico. Maybe just one other thing that I wanted to mention about the TACFL, which I didn't mention previously, was the report is being translated into Arabic currently by the Insurance Federation of Egypt, and it will be released during the African Regional Conference on Inclusive Insurance, which will happen between the 7th and 9th of May in Luxor in Egypt. So do look out for that. Maybe we can. So I do apologize that we can't answer all the questions, but we will try and answer them when we send the email. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Just in terms of I've got two slides here. The first one is talking about moving forward and the landscape and where we see ourselves moving forward, because we've been looking at how we were doing this analysis on a yearly basis and evaluating the benefits and so forth. And without going into too much detail, we are going to be transforming this program from a 1-year program to a 2-year program. So what does that mean? It actually means that we will be collecting data every 2 years, and we will be using the second year of the program to really delve much deeper into the data. Previously, we haven't had the time to really use all the data that we've been sitting on. So the idea is really to ensure that we partner with organizations to use the data as much as possible. Doing reports on specific countries, doing reports on regions, reports on specific topics as well. So this is something that we're looking to do going forward. And then the other point that we'll be doing new over the next few years is to make the data available to you online. The idea is to move to continue doing a publication, which essentially is static, but to also put this data online so you, the user, can do your own analysis by clicking on a country, seeing how many providers there are, what are the distribution channels, and so forth. So really kind of enabling you to do your own analysis. So that's in very brief, what's planned for the coming years. If you do have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are still drafting the program document, so there is still a lot of there's still room to take on board different comments and so forth. But do let us know if you do have any comments. So that's looking forward to regarding the landscape. Now, I mentioned, I'm not sure if I did mention it, but I was supposed to mention it. I had a special announcement, and the special announcement is not totally linked to the landscape, but it is very much linked to inclusive insurance. So if we can go to the next slides. It's regarding the European Microfinance Award, and maybe some of you might not have heard about this award, but it's an award that identifies, promotes, and selects organizations that excel in a specific topic. Previous years, the topics have been health, have been savings, have been food security. And 2025, the topic, as you can see on the slide, is building resilience through inclusive insurance. So if you are an insurance provider, an insurance company, a broker, an agent, an insurtech, you are eligible to apply for this award, which the winner gets 100,000 euros. The call for applications is open next Wednesday on the 12th. There's only 4 or 5 weeks that it will be open, so you don't have much time to apply, and the process will start from there. So we do call upon you to apply to this. So we've been working, the Microinsurance Network has been working very closely with the organisers of this European Microfinance Award, which is the European Microfinance Platform and Infine and the Luxembourg government based here. And the award ceremony will be announced in November during the European Microfinance Week. So that's all the announcements that I wanted to make regarding the future of the landscape and then this award. And now, without further ado, I want to turn you over to our chairperson, Lorenzo Chan, and CEO of Pioneer. Lorenzo, over to you.
Hi, can I be heard?
Yes.
Right. Hi. Now, in the interest of time, maybe you'll allow me to go straight to a few reminders. The pursuit of financial inclusion is never ending. I think those of us who are knee deep in it or neck deep in it are aware that there are always issues and problems to resolve and billions more to serve. But no one single stakeholder has the monopoly of solutions. Each of us involved in the ecosystem plays an integral part in building resilience. So whether you're an insurer, a regulator, a developmental organization, government official, donor, or academic, we must each perform our role and contribute. This includes reaching out to collaborate and unrelentingly pursue efforts for better, simpler, more sustainable, innovative solutions. While working on our flagship project, which is the Landscape of Microinsurance, we at the network recognize the wealth of resources available, from passionate advocates who share their expertise, case studies, and experiences, to companies who break new ground in addressing new markets, or even to players who continually step up to address the needs of unserved and underserved markets. Entering its second decade, this flagship research continues to provide invaluable insights, thanks to the support and participation of members, brokers, insurers, reinsurers, experts, and collaborators, ably supported by international organizations and government partners. The network appreciates their foresight and thanks them, as well as all our sponsors and partners for the support and collaboration. For the landscape to remain relevant to the parties concerned, though, it must continue to generate relevant data and critical market knowledge to enable informed decision-making among insurers, policymakers, and development players, as each of them play their parts. We look forward to governments for their support. And allow me to reiterate what I shared in Geneva last year. It's been observed that countries enjoy higher participation rates and voluntary disclosures from insurers where supervisors and associations promote the landscape study during the data collection period. So, in closing, we thank you for joining us today and invite you all to download the full report and utilize its findings as a guide as you strategize and pursue your efforts to close the protection gap. Now, to those of you still contemplating going into microinsurance or not, we have one question. Isn't it time for you to go beyond the market that can afford insurance and reach out to the market that needs it most? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorenzo. That's very, very poignant and very, very much agreed. So on your slide now, you've got a QR code where you should be able to download the report by putting your camera on it. And I see that we're relatively early, but I think finishing early isn't such a bad thing, giving a couple of minutes back to yourselves. I would like to say a special thanks to my team, the Secretariat, who have been working tirelessly to get this done and make this happen. And it's been an incredible work getting everything done. And a special thanks to Sada, who's been coordinating everything. I'd also like to thank the panelists, particularly Regina, Sorab, and Lorenzo, and also the interpreters. Now, I hope you can download the report. enjoy the reading, use it to your best for your best interests, and we look forward to hearing about how the landscape will, or hopefully will, help the protection gap. So on that note, I am going to close this webinar and wish you all a good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining, and look forward to interacting with you all very soon.